It's still 6:30. We'll start this meeting. Please rise and join us in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming this evening. The mission of the Nampa School District. The mission of the Nampa School District is to ensure high levels of achievement for every student. Vision statement: every student is fully engaged in extraordinary learning experiences, preparing for successful transition to the next stage of life. Excellent. We're going to have 2 spotlights tonight.
So the first one is from East Valley. I'm going to have Mr. Chris come and introduce Mr. Gomez, who is then going to introduce our students.
Thanks, Paula. Hi, Chairman Simpson, fellow trustees, glad to see all you tonight. It's my pleasure tonight to welcome Mr. Gomez to our board meeting tonight. Mr. Gomez is our East Valley Middle School robotics coach / instructor. It's a co-curricular activity. He also has taught science, a number of things over the years. Jesus has been at East Valley longer than I have. So really glad that he's able to help our kiddos be involved in what has become a really engaging thing with kids. We have 6 full sections of robotics students. So a lot of kids involved in robotics. It's actually become a district-wide program. All 4 middle schools all have robotics programs now. They had a huge competition. I'll let Jesus tell you about it. Big competition last week. It's all kinds of fun. But Jesus is here with 3 or 4, I think. Cordon's here, fantastic. So 3 really great East Valley Middle School kids. So Jesus, come on up and you get to go from here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Trustees, thank you for having us tonight. We are really excited about the robotics program. Robotics was introduced in Nampa School District 17 years ago, and it had 1 section, 1 class at 1 school. And now 17 years later, like he said, I have 6 sections just this semester. I still have more next semester, and all of the schools in the district, all middle schools have it also, along with some other engineering type programs. Last Tuesday, we had our first official VEX Robotics competition at Lone Star. I hosted it as the event partner, but we did it at Lone Star because the facilities worked out a little better for us. And we ended up having 21 teams of 4 students each show up. So, you know, quite a few kids from all 4 middle schools were represented, and lots of robots, lots of fun times, and some intense competition. And so I'd like to introduce the one team I brought today. They call themselves the Annihilators. And their robot is here, and they have some items they're going to share with you up on the screens. So we have Jake Myers, come on up, Emily Bradley, and Cordon Flam from the Annihilators, and here they are.
So for the field, we have 2 red goals on the red team, and then 2 robots for the red team, 2 blue goals for the red team, and 2 robots for the blue team. And then 3 yellow goals in the middle. And then to score points, you want to get the goals onto your side of the field, which is the white line on both sides. And then to get onto the platform in the middle, a goal is 40 points if you get on there, and then a robot is 30. Then on the yellow goals, there are like this one. There's, you score it on here and I think it's 10 points,
It's 20 points on the side.
20 points. And then there's the one in the middle. It has another hole. And then that's 25.
Rings on it.
Yeah. Next slide. Then the skills field is where you switch the red goals and the yellow goals, and then blue goals. Yeah. Yeah, and then the goal is to try getting the goals back to where they're supposed to be, and then the yellow goals to one of the sides. And then each side, you count all the points, and then the rings can be added for points too. Next slide. These are the goals, and then, so, like Chris said, there's another pole for the yellow one on the very right, and then on, if you get to the very top, it's 20 points. Next. These are the rings. You also have right there, and then our robot, we put them right here. And then our autonomous will drive up and put them in this circle, which is 1 point for each ring. Next slide. This is the notebook where we put down all of the things we've been doing, like the progress on the robot. Next slide. This is our regular code for driving and the competition. Next slide. This is the skills code for the autonomous code, where you don't use the remote for the robot, and it programs it to do it itself. Next slide. This is the robot in the classroom. Next slide. This is a video of our, I think it's the last competition, the first game we did. This is the autonomous.
We are on the top, the far
Far
side
side.
of the map. Yes.
The ones moving the fastest. No.
And then autonomous is 30 seconds.
15
seconds.
And then they count up the points. And then they decide on who wins autonomous, and that is 6 points.
Yep.
6 points for.
And then that's off. Yeah, then that's added on to your score for the self-driving.
This is driver, so it's your controlling robot and it does. And our main goal that we had was to try to get all of the yellow goals onto our side and try to keep them on our side.
So can I ask a question while we're watching? So did you guys build the robot from scratch? So like the first day of school, you go in, there's just parts, and then you guys decide what you want it to look like?
So, what we'll do is we'll go on to like, we'll like Google, ideas for robots and then like take inspiration from that and then, using the plans that we get, just build it up scratch.
How did you decide on this model and design? A lot of negotiating, high level.
Well, we started off by at the beginning of the year when they introduced the game, they have like very simple robots. And our beginning idea, this right here, that lifts up goals, came from, there was a robot on the that was just very simple. There's wheels and this, and we decided to use that. And then later on, we decided to put this on this claw, which would then grab like the pole and close it. And then we have a new part in the back that we've added census competition that will hook onto the bottom of the goal and lift it up. And we got that idea from the winners of that competition.
Okay.
They had something sort of like that. They would clamp the goal to the robot. And this made it so that we can hold 3 goals at once.
Very cool. Wow. Well done.
So a lot of like for our the arms, like at first we had to figure out the gear ratio because you have to have a certain strength to lift up the goals. And if you didn't have enough strength, then it wasn't lifted up and you couldn't move. So it took a while for that.
So some trial and error for you guys. Awesome.
So we'll have them give you a quick little demonstration, maybe 30 seconds. Go ahead and plug in and show them what it can do right here for everybody.
This is autonomous, so I don't touch the controller and it does it.
Not easy to have to learn.
But what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to, using this, come up and drop the rings down. So they're here. And in autonomous, you get a ring scored on this goal, and then pick the goal up off a autonomous line and move it, and you get an autonomous win point, which is extra points. This is the diagram. So then after this, if we have another goal, we'll show you, but this will keep hold of this, and then we can drop these claws, the arms down and pick up another goal. And then if we do that and also get on the platform, it's a total of 150 points. For, yeah, plus the rings, which is 3 more points.
Awesome. So when's your next competition?
The day after breakdance, January 7th.
You guys are sitting right ready to go.
Yes.
Excellent.
And then for he's the skills driver, which is just a minute of the goals are on the opposite sides. And there's also autonomous skills, which is a minute of just autonomous, doing the same thing.
Do you guys have any more questions?
How long have each of you been doing this?
We all started
year.
it last year,
Okay.
at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
We started the first beginning robotics program, so, because you do that before you do competitive.
So you're in year 2.
Yes.
Excellent, great work.
Very cool.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good luck.
And thank you so much.
Yeah,
coming and sharing
thanks
with
for
us.
showing us.
Yeah.
And good luck on the 7th.
Someone's help.
Thank you, guys.
So Chair Simpson, we have a really quick, we wish you Merry Christmas type thing from one of our choirs in the district. That was recorded and it's their gift to you.
Thank you.
It's a lovely sound right now.
Centennial?
It is Centennial.
They played noise earlier. Oh.
This is a group of fourth and fifth graders who voluntarily come before school and they practice before school with Miss Meadows.
They sang for us at a previous meeting, correct? We had a recording of them. Yes, they did a great job.
I don't know why that's not playing.
Well, you can see the heartfelt sentiment. A very Merry Christmas. Thank you, Mr. Burns.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Thank you, thank you. Next, NAMP Education Association comments.
Good evening, everyone. I'll be brief tonight. I just also want to say, I don't know if I feel better or worse than Mr. Jers is having difficulties because I was just having flashbacks to map testing a few weeks ago where we became experts at troubleshooting the devices. But I really just want to take the time to thank our outgoing board members because you've given so much of your time in your lives in some very difficult times. I first met Trustee Ross at summer school 2.5 years ago when we were just first starting to wear masks before it was, political controversial statement. And it seems like such an innocent time, but she didn't have to do that. She didn't have to come and check on us personally. I remember Trustee Keller made yourself available for some Zoom calls a year or so ago. You didn't have to do that. It was very gracious, for you to do that, and it was very much appreciated. I want you to know. And then obviously, Trustee Westfall has given so much of your time and life to the school district, and we've all crossed paths with you, many times, and it's so appreciated, and all of your love and attention to the district is well known and regarded. I also was just recalling that in my time, I don't know if it's ever happened, but the master contract that we do every year, almost, I guess we sort of delayed there for a while one time, but it's always been approved by the board and always ratified by the association, which to me at least shows some basic mutuality and trust in our process and in the people that we have. And that is very much appreciated because it didn't have to be that way necessarily. So just on behalf of the association, thank you all for your time and it's appreciated. So thank you. And you'll be seeing me later, so.
Yeah. Trustee comments?
I asked Mandy if I could have some time to just say a thank you. This is the last regular meeting and I had to write it down so I wouldn't write it. We govern and make decisions not as individuals, but as a group. So Mike, Mandy, Kim, Betsy, and before you, Mike Fuller, Heather Lewis, and Janelle Stopper. I'm grateful that each of your services coincided with mine on this board. I appreciated your thoughts and your ideas, especially when we didn't agree. My first Nampa School District school board meeting was in this room more than 40 years ago as a student reporter on the Nampa High School Growl. Go Bulldogs! Yeah, really. Since that time, I found my way back here as a professional reporter, a state education official, and of course, longtime district office employee, which is where I met nearly all of you when you were peers advocates for kids. Over the years, I met a lot of trustees and watched them serve, but it wasn't until I held the seat that I realized the sacrifices made. And I'm not talking about our time, because you know, when you sign up for trustee, you know there's work and there's meetings. I'm talking about those closest to us who make it possible for us to be here and to share the space together. So I wanted to thank Sandy Kip and the Kip kids. I wanted to thank Cordy and the Ross kids. I wanted to thank Janet and Dave and all those who make Team Mandy work. Thanks to Clint and the Keller kids. And finally, I want to thank my family, Toby and Grace, for all their support during this time. Thank you, Chairman.
I'm gonna move to public comments because I'm gonna gain my composure, but I'm gonna wait till the next trustee comments at the end. Thank you. So, do we have anyone sign up to speak? So then we're moving on to the consent agenda, please.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Was moved by trustee Westfall and seconded by trustee Kip. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Approved. We have the authorization of Insight Investments lease resolution.
And I'm just gonna defer it all to Mr. Harris tonight. It is his show. Many of these items come from him, so we're just gonna let him take the floor.
So I've got Mr. Cups here with me to help answer any of the really good juicy questions behind me. But the basics of this is based on our enrollment. We think we didn't order enough devices with the first round. So we wanted to kind of buffer that a little bit to make sure that we had a fleet that was sustainable for the next 4 years. And that's the basics of this. And what we're requesting is that additional 500 devices.
Madam Chair, I've moved to approve the lease resolution.
Would second that. It was moved by trustee Kip, seconded by trustee Simpson. Would you like to speak to your motion?
I think we need the devices. We have more students. That's wonderful. And we need the devices to provide for them. Thanks for the good work.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Joseph, we pay for most of these devices with our levy, is that correct?
This round, most of these are getting through the federal broadband, the ECF funds, as they're, we've already been approved for this round. So, but in general, yes, that is correct. The devices are paid for the levy. So this round's a little different because we had another funding avenue to make sure that we used everything available to us.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. It's approved.
Then the next one is kind of the similar deal, but it's for the property that the technology center sits on, which is downtown, right behind the roller drill. The land is owned by Union Pacific. We own the building and are then responsible for maintaining and taking care of it. That's where all the technology magic starts within the district, and kind of the internet comes in and then goes out, and all of those details there. We've worked with Union Pacific to come up to an amiable agreement that gets us there. The previous one was a 20-year one. They're not doing that anymore. So, but they were able to give us 5 years. we would recommend that you approve this lease so we can kind of keep all the amazing things happening there.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the lease resolution with Union Pacific.
Second.
Was moved by trustee Keller. Third second, seconded by trustee Kip. Would you like to speak to your motion?
No, I agree. I think it's great. I think we have a good location. We have a good space and appreciate Union Pacific working with us.
Any other questions or comment on this?
Mr. Durst, why did they move away from 20 years?
Great question. I don't know the history there. From what I understand is at the time that we originally got this, a board member was a member or management with Union Pacific. Wow. I can't say the word apparently. And that may have played into it. I also think it's probably a change in practice from the way it sounds, because the phrasing from the leasing representative is they no longer do those. I think what they're looking for is an increase in regular income for the railroad to offer the property that they do. That's my supposition.
So is this an increase in cost?
Over what they did for us 20 years ago, yes, but that's to be expected with the increases in prices of everything.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Approved.
The next one, we're asking it to be skipped and held. We're going through a review after one of the vendors pointed out a possible error on our part. So we're looking at that one. So we would like to hold that one until the next meeting.
Any questions on that?
Do we have to officially table it or do we just?
No. Yeah, either way.
But it will show as an action in January, and the board will have to act on it in January in order to meet the obligations. To make sure it's in place by February.
Here's the stuff that we talked about at the work session with the trustee rezone. I did pull the giant map that I provided because it takes a long time to download. I pre-clicked on that one. And this one is just a map that I put together that shows what the zones would look like, assuming you guys approve those changes today. So the zone 1 gets the little point that was there, and then this little row right here goes to zone 1 from zone 3. And then we see that zone 5 gets what was this chunk right here. And that's the difference, but that's what they would look like when the whole thing's approved and done and through all the process. And the state boards blessed what we did. All the other steps.
Madam Chair, just to confirm, this doesn't alter any sitting trustees or incoming trustees from their zones, correct?
Correct, and that would, yeah, that was. Any other questions or comments? None, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the trustee zone revision.
We'll second it. It was moved by trustee Kip, seconded by trustee Simpson. Would you like to speak to your motion?
We talked about it in the work session, and it seemed like the most logical way to balance the growth across the district, so that each zone has almost equal representation. And Trustee Westfall is very excited that the largest now by per zone.
But it is landlocked. Trustee, could that be the document labeled proposed trustee zone map?
Yeah, option 2. It's
Yeah.
option 2.
Option 2.
It is option 2. The proposed trustee zone map is the one that I put together to show you guys what it would look like.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Approved.
Okay. Last one here, at least for my part of the agenda, is nutrition services has been struggling with one of their vendors. This vendor has been kind of troublesome in the fact that we'll order product And then 5 weeks later, they either don't show or they show with a partial order and don't tell us until they're unloading the truck and they say, oh, we don't have it. So they haven't been working with us as well as any of the others. Every other vendor we have has been telling us when they can't get the Crispitos or the, whatever the item is for the menu, and we're able to make adjustments and be prepared. This group has not done that, so we're asking for your approval to go ahead and go through the process to terminate the contract.
Madam Chair, if I may, can you help me understand how many vendors you use and how much, like, percentage of the food we get in the district comes from this particular vendor? And also help me understand what it will look like if we discontinue with this vendor and how that will affect. So
when they bid it, they always have like a second or a third in mind there. We just immediately move to that second in line vendor and start working with them. So it shouldn't be a huge disruption. I don't know the percentage here of the overall food orders that come in here, but it's large enough to cause disruption. So with combination, I know that the number is in the tens and 20s, kind of time frame or range of different vendors they get food from and supplies.
Okay.
This
This is one of several.
One of several, yes.
And do we know that the second vendor in line will be able to fill these needs, or are they aware that we're going to now jump on their ship? Or, do we know that they'll be able to meet our needs?
So the answer is, I don't know that we know that for sure to be that, but anybody that's willing to work with us and trying to at least give us some better information in this company is going to be well worth the change. So that's kind of the goal, is even if they can't meet every need, somebody that's just willing to communicate and tell us that they can't meet that need, so that we can then work with somebody else to find an alternative, or work with them to say, what do you have in stock? What can we get to do that? But this group, even after 5 months of the school year, 6 months of the school year, we haven't been able to get them to do that at all.
We know for sure they cannot.
Yes, they've proven that they cannot. That's a good way to say it, Steve.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I move we terminate the contract with US Foods Inc.
I'll second.
It was moved by trustee Westfall, seconded by trustee Keller. Would you like to speak to your motion?
No.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. It's approved. Replacement levy is the next item.
Mr. Jers, you want to continue?
I'm not prepared, but I'll wing it.
So just review for our public, the references and the information that was available to the trustees. Trustees gave input on a survey that was then distributed. It had unique links to anybody who had an NSD 131.org or was registered in our system as a parent, guardian, or any other type of contact. We had a really wonderful response. Almost 1,600 folks gave us some information. Also in your packet is just a summary of the information related to the levy, a reminder of where we currently are with 12,895 million on the current levy, which expires on June 30th. A reminder that this is a replacement levy. There were two numbers that this board was looking at. The survey went out with the numbers where it demonstrated the need versus trying to figure out how to piece different things together. So the information that went out to our patrons was a number 7,907.95 million for 2 years, so twice that amount. We, in that survey, were able to take each of the sections, the broad groups, and ask our parents, students, and staff their level of support for each area. We had one that was really low. Only 83% of people agreed for the playground. And I joke, 83% is a wonderful number in a survey like that. So all of the other areas were supported at higher levels. So it felt like the uses that the district proposed were validated by the folks who were able to respond to the survey. In addition to that, we did take quantitative or qualitative information. The most common one was to support our staff, both classified and certified, either by giving them more money or more positions, etc. And we'll continue to work, particularly with our NEA, at helping to get more money to our staff to be competitive in the area. The trustees are very aware about the issues we're having with classified staff and area businesses that are offering $15, $16, $17 an hour. Just as a reminder, our starting is at 11, and we are working on continuing to upper that. We also know that a supplemental can go away at any time, so we need to be thoughtful and careful about the number of salaries that we choose to pay from that, so that at any one time we wouldn't have to make huge adjustments in our staffing. Reminder, 2 months ago, we shared with the trustees a reminder of the plan in order to get some of those salaries off in a consistent way that reflects a slight decline in enrollment, which we are experiencing, but that it doesn't create a huge drastic drop. So it's a plan. It took us a while to get here. Actually, it took about one summer in 2008 to get here, or 2009, 10. And we're working our way back off that. So the expectation is that the trustees have had the information here in the packet. We would love to answer questions if you have questions, but I think the information that you have in order to make this decision is before you and has been in the packet. Also, as a reminder, in April of this year, this board voted to run a levy in the March timeframe. So tonight, really the question on docket is whether is the price and what it is that we're going to run it for.
Madam Chair, for motion,
Yes.
I move we place on March 2022 ballot a 2-year supplemental levy in the amount of $8 million each year. And if approved, that the $8 million be allocated in the following amounts and uses for each year. $3,333,000 for continued programs, $125,000 for playground safety, $225,000 for building safety, $100,000 for early childhood education, $485,000 for student activities, $1,335,000 for curriculum, $2 million for personalized learning, $250,000 for transportation. That just collapses those two items. And then I think the difference is $50,000. And that would be for community engagement activities directed by the Board of Trustees.
Second.
So it was moved by trustee Westfall, seconded by trustee Kip. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah, it was just rounding it up to 8 million and hopefully the math adds up. Thinking that I would like to see more. And certainly the feedback we got was mixed and concerns. And I am concerned by relying so heavily on federal funds, but it has been widely shared as this proposal and that property tax is so appealing. I do believe communities need to invest in the schools that they want. I sound like I'm arguing against my motion, but the proposal as it's been presented to us, really pushes off some responsibility in the federal government, but it's bound money. That small amount for community engagement reflects conversations we've had the entire time I've been on the board. How do we do listening sessions? How do we do 360 evaluations? We're studying whether the clerk position, you folks will see the hours next month, should be full-time or something. We had a communication audit that identified a need for more engagement type activities. And it's hard to take these, and there's very little discretion in our state money or federal money to do these sorts of activities. So I thought it'd be a small way to provide the next board some resources to direct there. And it's nothing against the administration. That communication audit said we need to invest more and doing these sorts of things. And the administration is so busy tackling computer viruses, COVID virus, everything, that one more thing is one more thing.
Yep.
So that was my thinking.
That's great. I like that.
I love that, Trustee Westall. Thank you for coming prepared with specific numbers. I think that's really helpful to the way that you, well, like the way that you blocked it out and showing also with what the community seemed to value through the feedback we got through the survey. I think it's great. I appreciate your work doing that.
And giving the board some resources to do the things that you've heard for so long. I've heard, I mean, I want to just affirm those things. In the short time, a couple, 30 months that I've been on the board, I've heard those same things. And so I'm really grateful to us all for that thoughtfulness.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna take time to echo what they said. I do want to make sure to me, the math added up, but I saw you running.
It seemed to me that it followed the
Yeah.
PowerPoint.
Yes.
Yes,
You combined the transportation to be 350,000 for that total. And so the leftover amount was 50,000. And I have in my notes, community engagement activities directed by the Board of Trustees.
Yes.
And I think, just for clarity, I think I also heard a 360 degree. I mean, that could be part of that. Community communication, community engagement in all its forms.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. You have a facilities committee meeting. If we're looking at a bond, I want to just say to the folks who kept coming back with Nampa High, if there's something there, it would have some carved out funds for those types of conversations with the community.
Yeah.
It's hard not knowing the future, but there's something there to support.
Some
the
resources
board.
to do it.
excellent. Any other questions, comments?
Can I ask Mr. Dewey to share information that I reached out to him on?
Yeah.
Just, and this is a lower proposal, so property tax relief will be there.
What do you mean by that?
We're not asking for as much.
Correct. Our current rate this year is 2.37 is what we anticipate the rate to be. When I did the math, so on the levy ballot itself, it assumes 0 property tax increase, right? So we can't assume an increase. With the $8 million in bond, $8 million for supplemental, and about 440,000 for tort, we're at 1.82. If we assume a small increase of 10%, which we know is going to be more than that, that goes down to 1.66. So the one part I do need to remind everybody with is we ask for a dollar amount. So regardless of what that amount is, as you can see, because we ask for a dollar amount, that rate just goes down per thousand. So it doesn't matter what everybody else's increase, unless your increase is higher than somebody else's, we're still going to get $8 million for supplemental. So I think that's super important for us to understand.
We had chatted a little bit. I had always assumed that Amazon was in Valley View because it seems like everything on that
It
side,
is ours.
all new development lands in Valley View, but Amazon's in ours.
Yep. And any guesses value? Property tax value? You can't say it because I know you know it. I do love this number. But let me give you an example of so we have to do the top 10 taxpayers for our audit. We have to put it in there. In the past, our top taxpayers with the 2 manufacturing facilities for Go-Go Squeeze. This year, they're about 70 million. Next year, I think it's like 80 million for the 2 plants combined. Imagine what the Amazon is. All right, you guys don't even play my game.
Yeah.
$420 million. So, I mean, if you imagine that tax rate times $420 million, that's how much Amazon is going to take away from everybody else paying this this supplemental levy. So that is a huge thing for our district to have Amazon within our boundaries. It's huge. I mean, I think I did the math. It was like $800-something thousand that they will pay of our supplemental levy. Yeah.
Sounds like an argument to go higher.
But we don't get to talk about it because it's not on the value now.
Yeah.
Is that what you shared? with
Correct.
me?
It'll actually be in the value for next year. So 2022 in their world. So they're always a year behind on their tax value. That makes sense.
Gotcha.
So they levied this year, which is 2021. So the one we will be paying in January and July is 2021's. So it'll be 2022s that they're coming on board.
Okay.
Not to mention all the other increases for any kind of other building being made here. There's other commercial building coming and a lot of houses still being made.
Yeah.
So all that value also just increases the value, which then reduces the levy rate for every one of our stuff, or for our stuff.
So it would be fair to say that the property tax concerns in our community aren't being driven by the school district necessarily.
I would 100% be in agreement with that. It is a misconception, I think, that many people believe, because we have so many line items in there, because the laws made us break out every one of our different types of levy attributes, whereas the city does not need to do that. They get one line item.
Thank you.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you. Okay. Last chance, questions, comments? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. It's approved.
Mr. Dewey is still here. If you have questions on the budget reports.
Second, the resolution language, will that be approved by the next general intent?
Actually,
No.
the intent would be that you approve that amount. A good question. We were able to secure it from the bottom council, so this board could act on the resolution language.
My preference would be, given the motion that we have, maybe the language be looked at. And the next, in January, I'll approve it.
And
So can I just, it has to be approved by January 15th. And currently we don't have an actionable meeting scheduled. So if we meet on the 3rd, currently that's scheduled for a work session. So we would have to call a special session in order for our new board to approve it.
Right.
I was happy with the resolution language as it was put in the trustee packet. I didn't have any concerns about it, so I'm happy for that to be included in this. I feel like that is part of the sitting board's responsibility to carry the ball all the way down. And
We added that part, which won't be reflected on the language, and I wasn't quite sure how to.
which part are you referring to?
The
The
50,000.
community engagement
Oh,
directed
got
at
it.
the board.
Mhm.
Oh,
I think you should be able to easily put it on one of the back things.
Yeah.
So do we need to make a motion to change that so that that section can be included?
Mhm. Let's do it.
we would entertain a motion.
Move to approve the resolution language with the addition of $50,000 for community engagement. I'm trying to find where that would be placed.
And I know we don't have any specific dollar amounts listed in
Oh,
the young,
There isn't.
the main one,
Mhm.
that's why. This has to be right, because there's new laws, that's why I was thinking that our council would look at it and they get the intent.
We could,
Yeah, there's one.
Yeah, yeah, so I'm comfortable revising it It's on the fly.
I do think you can add the word community engagement. I also think community engagement based on your motion could be covered by other operational costs of the district. So it would be up to your thought. It certainly helps an auditor when they go through and there was strong support to continue the audit to look and say, oh, community engagement, where is that at? So it would follow, I would guess, playground upgrades,
Or
community engagement activities.
after operational costs with their community engagement,
Yes, that'd be an
come out
appropriate
and
place.
providing for annual audit.
I second your motion. Are we waiting for a second? I'll second that motion.
Was that your motion?
yeah, well, I was just gonna say, I would amend my motion if it's necessary, that it's just up that, that the community engagement is placed in the narrative of the different items that
Yeah.
the levy would be used for. Would that be satisfactory?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, for your,
Not
for
a
your,
lawyer.
for your perspective.
And then
And I
second.
do second. I'll second your amended motion.
So it was moved by trustee Kip and seconded by trustee Keller. And any other questions or discussion on this? Seeing none, All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Any questions on monthly budget status report? Trustee Ross is not here, so I'm gonna ask the question. Mr. Dewey, is there anything that we should be aware of?
I'm actually going to provide great news, and I know Trustee Westfall already knows this information. I've heard you guys all know as well. Last Wednesday, the State Board of Education did vote to do a temporary rule to allow us to move back to average daily enrollment, similar to what we were doing last year. The difference literally is about 75 units. Now, the reason I don't have an actual answer for you what it is, there still are some districts in protection, and they will not have those numbers finalized until January. So they take this number and everything and then finalize till January. But that is not a windfall of money, because the one thing to remember, as back when we were saying the PSEP, Public Employee Stabilization, Public Education Stabilization Fund, is no longer able to be tapped. In the past, that would be anything over the original budget allocation from the state would come out of that. Now they cannot do anything with it. So any money above that we've spent above that will have to come out of our discretionary. So it's not a one-to-one. So that's the part we don't know exactly until July. So that's the bummer part. But what this does is allow us to breathe and know that we're not going to have to dip into our ESSER funds to make sure that we have any budget shortfall. The state is asking for a $32 million supplemental request that will help buffer that a little bit. But they won't know that until the first couple of weeks in January, when the state JFAC comes up and starts approving some of those supplemental requests. So, but things are good. And in where we are currently on our budget, I think we're okay. Stays a little behind on our apportionment on our average pay teacher. So if you were to pull it now, it's really low. The reason is they have not entered some of our newer teachers and some of our transferring teachers over. They were just there. State has some turnover as well as everything else, and it affects us. But they always pay us in arrears, so it's a kind of a guess anyway until the end. So we're good on that.
Any other questions for Mr. Dewey? Thank you. Next up, our policy review with 805.
So these are all second reads this evening. You can look at the information. I think in blue is a response to the feedback from the last time the board convened. So it would be ready if we reflected your thoughts appropriately for a second and final read.
Madam Chair, I move to approve policy 9805 for second reading.
Second.
It's moved by Trustee Keller, seconded by Trustee Kipp. Would you like to speak to your motion?
No, I appreciate the changes that were made. I think they're good. I think the policy is good. I'm excited to add it to what we already have.
Any other comments, questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. That's approved.
The same is true for the next set of policies, 7215 and 7260. We took the comments that the board shared with us at the last regular meeting and tried to incorporate them in the appropriate places. So if we were able to reflect your thoughts appropriately, both of these are ready for second and final read.
Madam Chair, I move to approve policy 7215 and 7260 for second reading.
I'll second that. It's moved by Trustee Kipp, seconded by Trustee Simpson. Would you like to speak to your
I
motion?
think the edits reflect our desires.
Any comments, questions, discussion?
Trustees, I was just going to vote no on their combined, but and I wasn't successful previously suggesting we increase our fund balance, but that's the reason for my no vote.
So that's on, sorry, the 7215.
Yeah, I think it shows 5%, which is actually a different policy, but I'm just going to say that.
Can you expand on that, help me understand?
I just feel like that as we look forward to maybe bonding, that we would be in a better position with the larger fund balance. But Mr. Dewey adequately spoke about it before. We just disagreed.
Oh, I would love a bigger fund balance, don't get me wrong. Unfortunately, it makes things hard.
Any other comments, questions, or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Nay. Approved.
So Mr. Walker is not able to be here with us tonight, but I'm not aware of any legal update that you need to be aware of. Superintendent comments, we do wish you a really wonderful season. Whatever that is for you in the month of December and into January, hopefully a well-deserved break that has some rest and some routine and some different types of rhythms for you. In addition, I would agree with Brian that we deeply appreciate the work of the trustees who have served their terms. Nobody entered this term thinking that it would have the challenges that it has had. And even in moments where we've had disagreements, we have appreciated the fact that we could come together, talk through those issues, and come to some type of solution. So I think that Chairman Simpson will do something in just a few moments in order to recognize you officially. We also have at your place a gift from the district, compliments of Trustee Keller. You'll see what that means in just a moment when you open that. But we're really grateful that a few weeks ago we were able to take a picture of the whole board, and we thought that would be a nice memento for you, whether or not you're returning to us or whether you're moving on to other things. So thank you for your service to the district and the love that you have for the children of the Napa School District. Thank you.
Trustee comments?
I do have something, and I, like Trustee Westfall, as you all know, ramble if I don't write things down. So I just want to close with a few words of gratitude. I want to thank my fellow trustees for taking a chance on me and appointing me to this seat. Being a trustee this past year and a half has been the hardest and most refining experience of my life. I've been uncomfortable, I've been scared, I've been misunderstood. I've also unintentionally hurt people, and I've been wrong, and I've been compelled to be humble. But I have learned and I have grown so much. This has been a life-changing experience for me, and I'm very grateful for it. Thank you to those in our community and district, parents and others who are brave enough to have their voices be heard via email, coming to meetings, speaking to us. I always appreciate feedback, good or bad, and it is so important for our community to be engaged. I appreciate what you do to be involved. To the teachers, the staff, and the building administrators, thank you for being heroes in our community. I appreciate all the work you do to bless the lives of our children, mine included. I want to thank the incredible administrative team that leads the Napa School District. I have been repeatedly impressed by their goodness and their love for the children of Napa. Thank you to each of you for your kindness and your patience with me. And finally, I'll always be grateful for the friendships I built with my fellow trustees. Often we didn't see eye to eye on some really hard issues, but they never let their stances overshadow our friendship. And I think that speaks volumes about the kind of people that they are. I have learned so much from working with, listening to, and watching Mike, Kim, Mandy, and Allison, and I'm grateful for the time and love that you freely give to this district. Thank you, I love you, and I will miss working with you. Thank you.
I'm gonna try my best here, but I am a crybaby at heart, you know, but I have loved every moment. You guys have really done a very good job expressing what it's like to be a trustee, and your guys' individual commitment and group commitment to this community and the kids. is outstanding. And I know that's not gonna change. I am forever grateful to get to work side by side with you, to disagree with you, and to work through it. I know all the things you said, right? We've all been misunderstood. We've all said something we didn't mean. We've hurt someone that we, or a group of people that we didn't mean to. You know, all the things. But the greatest part about this group is that I do think we have respectfully worked with each other and worked to see, not necessarily to all agree and walk out of here with the same opinion. And life would be super boring if we did, right? But to at least open our mind and understand where each person's coming from, and respect that. And I have learned so much in this process. And I'm happy to say now that we can be friends and interact outside of board meetings, and right, and they get to know each other more as the years go on, and work to continue. I know you guys will work to continue this community and this district for kids. So that being said, sorry, long-winded, but I love you guys very much. We do. I actually am not sure. Did this come from one of our schools?
The students of the Nampa School District made that with you
Oh.
online, so
Yes.
take that with it as a reminder.
Very cute.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. Next. Upcoming meetings. We have a lot of, I think, to be announced, possibly. And for sure, the regular board meeting is on January 18th at 6:30 p.m. And then I wasn't sure if we heard back on the January 10th yet from everybody. What's that?
I didn't have time this afternoon.
No worries. And then there may be discussion about January 3rd. So we will.
So can we just clarify what we're
Yes.
looking for is a common time for the new board in January?
Yes.
Sometime to convene in alignment with the facilitators from ISBA and our attorney. So the clerk will be querying the incoming board and Chairman Simpson and Trustee Kip for a common time, trying to find that space in that time for you to convene.
Thank you. Board self-assessment. I see Trustee Westfall.
We passed.
Did she leave?
Oh, do you need a motion?
Thank you.
Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Nampa School District number 131 recess from a public meeting into executive session in the manner and for the purpose authorized by section 74-206 Idaho Code to discuss matters pertinent to this district, specifically subsection 1B, to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent or public school student.
Second.
It was moved by Trustee Westfall, seconded by Trustee Kip. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Westfall. Aye. Trustee Kip.
Aye.
Trustee Keller. Aye. Chairman Simpson.
Aye.